Another day, another moment of me looking like I hate everyone while I try to do my morning stretching. The resting beach phase apparently is real, and as I continue to film these videos, I realize more and more that unfortunately I do have it. Just know that in my heart, I am calm. Our first morning on the island consisted of Cynthia refusing to get up from bed and me pushing through and getting up anyway to make it in time for breakfast. Because I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people that the first thing I think about when I wake up is food. Food takes up a lot of my brain power daily. Now, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy more alternative accommodations, perhaps a funky Airbnb or off-grid stays, but the best thing about these types of hotels is always the breakfast buffet. It's filled with equally tasty sweet and salty treats, and with the knowing that you're going to be stuffed after devouring the one plate that almost always in my case becomes 2 plates of breakfast. The best thing about this hotel was that 80% of this produce were locally sourced, so you can only imagine how fresh everything was, from the eggs, the milk, the fruits, even the yogurt. A true vacation cannot be complete without a bit of relaxation, and that's what we did next. We realized the hotel had a spa, so we booked a much needed massage. The ladies working there were just so kind and lovely. Adventure is another component that can't be missing from a good vacation. If you know us, you know we love rainforests and forests in general, to be honest. And since we left Australia, one thing that has been missing is the accessibility to tropical forests. So when I randomly zoomed in Google Maps and found this hidden gem, I knew what we had to do. The photos on Google Maps showed that there was a canyon-like natural spring at the end of this path. So despite the 12 degrees Celsius, we equipped ourselves with naive optimism and our bathing suits and made our way to the water. And the second dip of our toes confirmed the obvious. We were about to freeze. The rest of the group backed out, so it was up to me to prove that I'm not a wussy and jump in the water. I jumped in and started swimming, until I reached the start of the canyon and saw below me, and all I could see was muddy waters. At which point I had to accept that I am indeed a wuss, and get the freak out of there. A little self-awareness never hurt nobody, although a few may disagree. Having planned nothing ahead, I realized I don't have with me a change of clothes, nor a towel, so I just put my thick jacket on top of my swimming suit, took my clothes in hand, and continued exploring the forest. There were many creeks and mini waterfalls, making the scenery look like out of a fairy tale, and for a second there, life felt like it was 2 years ago. When we checked in at our hotel, the lady at the front desk told us about this rooftop bar in the building next to us, so of course we had to check it out. Now mind you, it was the beginning of May in a small Greek island, so tourism was next to zero, which meant we had the whole bar to ourselves. We ordered our drinks and a very juicy Angus beef burger and proceeded to do what we do best. Yap about the same thing for the 100th time and make ourselves laugh so hard that we forget what we were even talking about in the first place, if that makes any sense. Another day, another struggle for Cynthia to get up, another delicious breakfast. Enjoy Cynthia showing me the recipe to the perfect breakfast sandwich bite. Butter, lots of butter applied aggressively, cheese, salami, and bacon. Doctors may not agree, but it really was delicious. And now, the pool. Not the one you saw before, that was for amateurs. This was the real deal. Just 100 meters away from the main pool, tucked in the back, was this mini pool that no one seemed to have discovered. So this meant we got it all for ourselves. Even though the sun was out, it was still 12 degrees, which meant it was time for cryotherapy round 2. This time Cynthia joined me. It really is a unique feeling when the cold water surrounds you for the first time. It's like your first breath after the dip is taken away from you, and you have to concentrate to return to it. We did a bit of mindful breathing and counted up to 60 seconds, and then we got the hell out of there. We proceeded to sit in the sun, to forget the temperature we had just endured, and then we got hot again. So we got in, but this time like 2 grannies, sitting on the edge with just our feet dipped. Okay, I might have had another short swim, but regret was almost immediate again. As I mentioned earlier, it was the start of May, which meant it was time for a Greek tradition that calls for you to cut stray flowers and greens and make a flower crown. I guess it's more like a celebration of winter ending and spring entering, kind of like a midsummer ceremony. So, despite her protests, Cynthia joined me in the rain, and we proceeded to cut wildflowers that I'm sure were filled with dog piss from an abandoned parking lot across our hotel. We gathered our supplies and went to our balcony to construct the flower crown. The plan was simple. First, make the circle base from all the wild stems, and then try to beautify it with a few flowers we managed to find. We took this very seriously, even though it was still raining and there was no sign of spring being anywhere around. And then the results were in. Not bad at all if you ask me, especially considering what we were working with. Next on, we had a running session. I truly was Cynthia's vein of existence during this trip, to be honest, because by this point she didn't want to run at all. But we had committed to the plan. Stretching was part of this plan, even though I don't know what's worse, the actual running or the stretching before and after. Running in a small village on a Greek island is a different kind of sport, because it requires you run through uphills and downhills in barely structured roads, making you question why you even got out there in the first place. By this point, we were so tired, but we managed to find an old stadium, so we decided to do what was obvious, break in from the side and make our lives 10 times easier by running on a flat circle. We completed the rest of our run in the stadium, contemplating if we're going to make it back to our hotel, but there was a surprise waiting for us at the hotel. It was pasta night! As if they knew we had just run and wanted carbs. So we enjoyed 3 different types of pasta that we accidentally ate for free, as they thought we were part of the all-inclusive tourist club and we didn't know you had to pay extra. And we called it a successful night. The island was moody for most of the days we were there, but even this moodiness had its own beauty. We spent a few hours exploring and walking around again, feeling like we were the only humans left on the island, which was kind of true. Even driving, we couldn't see a car, nowhere to be found. Our accountant is actually from this island, so we decided to pay a visit to his hometown, which had once again 0 permanent residents. We found this swing hanging from a tree, proof that life must exist here during summer, and so of course we played like kids again. It was so calm and peaceful, and we could only imagine how much fun the local kids must have here in summer. We put everything back as we found it in an attempt to hide the fact that we were ever there, and we continued our exploration. The smell of fresh fruit was everywhere in the village, and we managed to find and cut some fresh mandarins to eat. Of course, we spent 10 minutes debating if they're oranges or mandarins, but nevertheless they were delicious, like someone had injected them with extra flavor. We found where the old school must have been, and we walked through a forest and found the village's church. If there's one thing about a small Greek village, is that there's always going to be a church, and it's always going to be hidden at the edge of the village where the best view is. Our last day on the island consisted of us exploring the opposite side of it, where fishermen and locals from Turkey leave their boats to enjoy a quick meal and then head back. So that's what we did as well. To be honest, we ended up in the most touristy tavern. You know, the ones that have a little bit of everything, a bit of Greek food, pizza, pasta, burger. But I mean, who are we kidding? We are in Greece. The food here is delicious everywhere. And just like that, it was time to head back and leave this beautiful island behind us to exist in its stillness.